losing all your draw power cards.
Right, yeah, having to invest a whole lot on those tall units. He does have a mind splitter of his own, so if he's able to get into the range of, DA doesn't come out sooner than later, he could kind of snatch it away before it gets developed, of course. As we saw one of the Draven players here in their quarterfinals get that done. But man, this might be a tougher matchup. But if there's anyone that can understand the matchup to the best of its potential, it will be Allen. And he could perhaps kind of go a little speedy, but as we saw, this is more of a mid-range slash tempo slash control deck. So I don't know if he's able to get directly under Aurora, as even the likes of Victor, able to recur a recruit token each and every turn for basically free, wasn't able to do so. So let's see how things play out. And for those that haven't seen it, this is the Dazzling Aurora Misfortune deck with a total of 5 total units, believe it or not. Has to reside on something like Last Right to bring any fallen units back. Has a nice little time warp, which could be kind of impactful because we know how crazy draw he has, or Ezreal player has. So I think that actual time warp could put in a little bit of work. Summoners it is, and they're showing a potential future world champion. They put the championship crown in the middle of the table, the little table mind you, but they're just trying to show what these players are potentially playing for. So Allen ZQ coming into the ring, if you will. He will be player number 1, our last standing best of metal card, Ezreal. And we'll see where MF Aurora making her appearance. There we go. These guys are dueling it out. ZebiQ as well joining that feature match. This is it, ladies and gents. This is the final game of the day. As I said before, 1,719 players came to compete in the Bologna Regional. And this is it. 2 players remaining. Allen, Sebi, who will be crowned champion? We get all the answers in this final best of 3 series. The fifth sums goes out, and as we could only expect, there will be 1 player on the play, and it looks like, is he already going through his mulligans? He's playing his turn. They're not showing us.
Yeah. I guess we can just side view the side view. Congratulations to probably the best 2 players then from Poland currently out here today, slogging it out. And as you said, Allen was a previous Legends of Runeterra champion. It's just only fair to sort of defend that title within the community's spiritual successor. But yeah, straight into the game then. So we got ourselves at the Raven Bloom like you said he should, and then hopefully be getting those first points on the follow-up turn.
Yeah, quite an ideal curve to start things off for the Ezreal. You needed that early 2-drop to go ahead and push onto these battlefields as soon as possible. And I believe as a stack deck hopefully hits a mobilize if he wants to go ahead and progress that rune state even further. But no mobilize. That's a little bit of a mini victory for the side of Allen. Now, if you could go ahead and play out another unit, a stack deck could be a way of finding that other unit because you're posing at least a 1-point conquer. And that's another Raven Bloom, I believe. Things are going pretty good for Allen so far. If that was indeed another Raven Bloom, because I believe at this point, Aurora's at the minimum 2 more turns away from even getting off a DA if she has it in hand.
Yeah, it's really good. Obviously, like we said before, you want to get those units out as much as it is. Turn 1, get your unit out. Turn 2, move your unit in. Turn 3, hold a point to 2. Turn 4, hold to 4. And he's on curve for it right now. As you said, we did see that in there. Getting another draw, can't play too much. And he's found a Fizz and a Mind Splitter. So overall, I can't say this is too bad for any of these gameplays. And for those people out there, I believe those Pokemon sleeves or the Voltorb sleeves there are actually a gift from their community.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of great community members out in Poland. So each of them doing... I know the gold tokens are definitely Poland community made. And oh no, actually no, they did have 1 Dazzling Aurora with the Catalyst of Aeon. Will expedite that game plan to bring it out as soon as he can. So going up to 7 runes this turn, and that means the next turn you will have that all important 9 runes, enabling you drop that Dazzling Aurora as early as the next turn. So that's something Allen has to consider. He has to just play around like it's coming down. And I say play around with the main board being what we saw. Is there truly a way to play around it? I think you still have to push the battlefields. We know Mind Splitter can't contest the battlefield. So at the minimum, you were able to hold to 5, and that's really where the game is going to actually begin in this grand finals.
Yeah, I think the issue here is we saw there's no hate for gear or equipment in the main deck for the Ezreal, which is either a plan that they've seen that they don't really need to do it on the game 1 and then move into it on game 2 and 3. We did see that they have their own Mind Splitter in hand, so maybe they can check the hand the following turn and then go up and hopefully move maybe a last rites as like their sort of secondary play.
Right, I do like Vex is going to pose a bit of a problem on those bullet times, of course. Bullet's not only going to cost 2 energy, but an additional power as you're trying to exhaust out. So I like Vex. It won't be the most impactful, but at least Vex is a 5/5 unit, able to try to hold down one of these battlefields nonetheless. But as we predicted, Dazzling Aurora gets developed out on this 3rd turn. Allen's accused on 3, so most likely we'll be able to hold to 5. And I think, as I said recently, that is where the true game begins. So let's see, will it indeed be that Mind Splitter coming off the top? Because then it's going to give us the whole picture on Allen's hand currently.
That's it. So we have a Fizz, a Mind Splitter, a Raven Bloom, a stacked deck, and a Smokescreen. None of these are particularly amazing to sort of get rid of. Mind Splitter is probably the best one, just in case there's anything in your hand that you don't want your opponent to see. And I think that's kind of where we are sitting right now, is just maybe get rid of this Mind Splitter, because everything else is more of a combo piece, whereas Mind Splitter is more of a control piece.
Right, I'm right there with you. Information is king, especially against the likes of a pro player like Allen. So trying to deny him any kind of information from your hand will be all important going forward. So I believe Mind Splitter will be the chosen target to remove from the hand. The secondary option, I think Fizz has a lot of crazy play potential, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. Smokescreen is decent. Stack Deck is never a bad card, but it has to be one of those more important units. But I think the choice is clear. Mind Splitter has the biggest impact on this current board, and choosing the Fizz, interesting enough.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting to see Fizz coming down as the main choice here. I thought Mind Splitter would be more of an important card to sort of keep off of your knowledge self. But what do I know? I'm not in the finals. So what do we do now with 7 ruins? We drew into another Fizz, so it's fine, right?
Right, can never go wrong. Where one dies, you have the other one to follow suit. And let's see his opponent's reaction. Come on, camera crew, let's see. I want to see him react to a second Fizz getting played out. Sometimes you don't have to necessarily be the best player in the room. You sometimes can be the more luckier player in the room, as it is a TCG. Luck is indeed a factor. I want to say Riftbound not as intensive on that luck factor, but at the end of the day, it is a trading card game, and that is always part of it as well, which in my opinion adds to the fun, because sometimes the less skill expressive player ends up beating the higher skill level player, which is kind of in the fun of it in it all. So either way, the stack deck coming down, and let's see what are the 3 cards getting picked up. Frigid Hard Bargain, and I can't see the last one. It looks like another stack deck.
Yeah, I think it might be the stack deck. They took the Frigid, I believe, which is a fairly good card here. You want to try and remove some stuff in the back there. I can get down with that. Is that Smokescreen plus Frigids? That would be -8. Pink for 1 damage. Yeah, that's pretty good. That'll get rid of pretty much anything on the back there besides those big tanky burrs. But we're getting ourselves a good battlefield here. As you said, 5 points on the board seems to be where we're going to start seeing more gameplay action from this MF. We did just see another Aurora in the hand. I don't know if this is going to be just used to get 2 bodies out per turn now. Maybe coming on the following turn, 2, 4, 6. Nope, we had enough to do it this turn.
Yeah, it looks like the establishment of another Dazzling Aurora is in the mind for Sebi Q. And funny enough, it's usually such a big play for the entirety of the remaining of the match, but in the situation MF has currently, with their deck being only 5 units, 2 turns and then you're out of units. You're getting out 2 now, that's 3. You get 2 more out the next turn, that's all 5 units taken out of the main deck. So not as insane as you would imagine, as you're only getting 2 turns of value, but sometimes that's all the value you need. We're talking about a big bad bear in the volley bear, and then the Mind Splitter. We all know how great, or maybe how devastating, that card can be depending on what side you're on. and he does go ahead and play it on the sigil, so setting up quite a wall on that battlefield. I think Alan does get the free conquer up to 6, which you never feel bad about that, but the Watcher does take out, and that's exactly what he needed in hand, because without the Watcher, how are we taking down that monster of a battlefield? What is that, 14 plus 13? That is a little bit too crazy.
We do have the minus might in hand, quite a lot of it to be fair, and we could just draw it into those bellows to just ding for 1 each as well, just to do the final touches to each unit there. But I am in the same thought pattern you are. I am wondering what the plan will be to get something out here. But we did just see a Mulberry Return, or is it just a card that we're highlighting right now? It would be a good card to get the Watcher back if they have used it.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably what they're talking about in the commentary booth over there. So Mulberry Return is a way of getting back your Watcher. Arcane Shift is a decent card if you have some good spells to replay that Fizz, of course. But I think if you had something like a Fighter Flight, then you can Fizz, replay a Fighter Flight, so that's 2 cards getting pushed back to base. That should be decent enough to conquer with the Vex alone and the Fizz alone. That's 3 total might, or 8 total might, to take down one of those Mind Spitters. And just kind of sneaking through and conquering up to 7 could be exactly what he needs to do to try to lock in this game number 1. But first things first, conquering up to 6 total points with that Raven Bloom. But let's see what he decides to do as he finally lets go of that Mind Spitter.
Chuck away that last rights. Chuck away that last rights. I would just like to say, as we had the game beforehand, we have to fight the bear first, as it is a very tanky boy. But if we can get the whole Singularity, Bellows Breath combo going off, or any form of minus might, then that will get rid of the units we don't want to deal with first. But what do you think here? I'm thinking personally, you're going to get rid of a punch first, or you're going to get rid of a last rights. I think last rights is more of the continuous combo piece, especially if you're going to be just killing these things through might and minus damage. But maybe the punch first is the key here to just keeping everything, or at least something around on board.
Yeah, that is a key thing to consider, right? Because last right, there's technically nothing in the trash as of right now, so it's not a directly impactful, valuable card. But as the game progresses, you have to take these battlefields one way or the other, which means your units will end up falling down. But there's 2 hard bargains. You have 2,000 Auroras. You don't necessarily have to play anything. 2 hard bargains being repeated, looking to be quite dangerous. But another quite dangerous card will be that Punch First, allowing the Volibear to defend for an extraordinary amount of might. I believe 18 total might out of a single unit with a simple Punch First. I think that does make a whole lot of sense when we think about it like that. So Alan, understanding the biggest card to eliminate from your opponent. But now you have full information. You have to be very careful about what spells you play and how much runes you have left after those spells, because Hard Bargain could perhaps cancel out those Frigid Touches, those Bellows Breaths, the Arcane Shifts. So this is a tough position for Alan, because that's one too many counters in the hand of MF.
Yeah, that is the issue, really. As you said, get rid of the might bonus, stop the defensive plays from the big old Volibear. But 2 hard bargains is a lot worse than 1, and if they have the runes to do it, which they generally will, that could be double repeated for 8, meaning that you just can't play anything for the next 2 or 3 turns.
And yeah, MF makes it so easy moving on to the other side of the battlefield. You think Aurelia had an easy time going from one battlefield to the other. MF makes it look like light work, and to make matters worse, Sabotage coming down. So if you had any kind of impactful spells in, the Arcane Shift is indeed one of those impactful spells back to the base, or back to the bottom of the main deck. It doesn't even see the trash, so things like Fizz can't recur it if it's getting played out. So that is a huge swing. It almost feels like MF Aurora, I don't want to say is a direct counter, but with those Mind Spitters coming down and with the Sabotage to add Assault to Injury, it almost feels like Alan can't even play the game right now.
Now, that's what we've seen before. It just feels like the game has slowed down to the point of where we just can't get to anything really pushing forwards. Now that we do see the fact that all 5 units from the deck are out on the battlefields now it's game plan. What do we do?
Yeah, now the party really starts. Everything has hit the board, and now it's just a matter of fact your DAs are gonna proc more than once. If they make him look at the deck 2 times in a row, I think they ended up doing that in China, believe it or not, where they forced the player to show the card shuffle and then show the cards one more time. I think these guys would be slightly more lenient, but of course, Alan looking for some outs. He doesn't have a Ezreal Prodigy online, but that's a hard bargain enabling, or I like this hard bargain because even though you're finding more options, you're limiting the options that you're able to play out this turn, which effectively means you should be able to hold up to 5, tying the Ezreal currently. Was that 2 hard bargains?
Just the one, I think. But they did have the Ezreal underneath some of those cards next to the Vex, so they did get to do it for their reduced cost. They did grab a Stupefy, hopefully going down one more to get some more draw power going into this, as the only things available to Sebiq are, I think, 2 more Sabotages. So that's kind of where we're going to be soon. But we do have units on play. We do have another Cold Shot, and we do have Smokescreen and Stupefy. My brain went dead there for a second.
Yeah, he does have some decent cards, but honestly, what is really going to get you out of the situation of the massive board currently on the battlefields for the MF Aurora? You have some decent cards. You have, what, 10 might on the units on the right, the Fizz and the Vex up to 8, so 18 total might currently able to push onto one of these battlefields. Funny enough, that alone isn't even enough. If you were ambitious enough to send every one of your units onto one of these battlefields, you don't even get the Conquer on raw power alone. So MF Aurora will be holding up to 5 and holding up to 6 actually, because of the double hold there. Oh, they're confusing me. They had 3 up to 5, of course. There it was. Production gave it that 1 extra little point. Perhaps a bit of a telltale sign where this game is going, because little by little, I think this MF Aurora will be ending things in this game, number 1. Unless Alan goes crazy with some kind of Bellows Breath Watcher, but even that, I just don't think it's enough.
How would you feel about this? We both know, as competitive people here, that that deck has no more units in there currently. Can I just shuffle his deck?
Yeah, I think first things first, you give your opponent your deck to offer him to look through it, because information is key, as we talked about before. So allow your opponent to write down the cards you have remaining in the deck and then shuffle, right? Because I think that's part of revealing the cards from DA, is when you have you're able to kind of, like we said before, deduce what most likely is going to be remaining in the hand of Sebiq. So I think that would be the formalities, right? Just hand your deck over to Alan saying, take a look if you want. If not, just shuffle my deck. So I like what you're getting at, Alguito.
I was going to say, what do we have in hand? I wish the one was upside down. I can't read upside down.
I believe that's a Vex and then a Bellows Breath, it looks like to me, just from the bottom of the artwork. But Alan is kind of hiding it a bit. I do think it is indeed a Bellows Breath, as I see the fire down below. But the card in the back...
Get that.
What was that?
And then a Singularity. We could clear that Void Gate. That would be very good. If we have one Singularity, the hidden card map, no. We tried, everyone.
Oh, it's a retreat and then a seal. So yeah, we indeed try, but no cigar. The Singularity nowhere to be found. And even at that, oh no, I think he did end up investing those 2 hard bargains before. I think we thought it was 1. But I'm pretty sure I saw 2 coming down. But we'll see. If he still has a hard bargain, he could indeed counter one of those spells. But I'm pretty sure it did. And Alan's still staying composed. Knows it's not over till it's completely over. That's not the attitude that found him here in the grand final. So trying to do everything in his power. And a Rebuke is not too bad. You're able to send one of these Volley Bears back, allowing you to at least conquer one of these battlefields up to 6 points. Little by little, perhaps that's a way of inching your way back into this game. But back in hand allows you to play it onto the battlefield, and then you could gank the other Volley Bear to the other battlefield. So it's just like a mini victory. It's not per se a long-term victory.
No, unfortunately, here with the big battlefield the way it is, clearing the 1 isn't too bad until they bring down that last rights, as they didn't get rid of it beforehand. Was they just playing the 1 mind split? I believe they were, weren't they? So they're not going to get another hand knowledge. They can't rip another card out of hand. Is there anything we can need to be a little bit more? 2 rebukes, though.
Yeah, that could pose a bit of a threat. I know he doesn't, or he does have the runes to utilize it. Does have enough chaos runes as these guys are going deep into this game. Even though it's 15 minutes, it almost feels like they've gone way longer than that. Not to say it's been dragged out. It just seems like they made so much decisions in this game. And funny enough, I feel like the perfect card, of course, we know Allen's not running it even in the sideboard, is the unchecked power. Imagine an unchecked power in this position. That's gonna be 12 damage across the board, and then that's a GG. You took down every single unit, but of course that is just a little bit of hypotheticals. But perhaps people might be underestimating unchecked, and maybe that's what you're gonna have to put into your decks coming in these locals, because I am expecting a whole lot more MF Aurora if she ends up winning today in Bologna.
Yeah, I could definitely see it, to be fair. And we got rid of we used obviously the Vex to walk into the battle area, reduce the cost of it because of Vex's ability. Do the same thing with the second rebuke. Perfectly played here. This is how you want to do it. Reduce the cost as much as possible, waste your opponent's time as much as possible in terms of like hand divisions and do they have to counter spells? Can they counter spells? And then essentially walking here with the Vex. Vex is lower than the Mind Splitter currently, but we do have some minus units in the hand. So we do have Stupefiers, we do have the smoke screen. I think we have a frigid touch too, so we could do that and just reduce it by 5, so it would crash at 5.
Yeah, I think right now the smoke screen probably the best bet. Bringing it down to 3 might effectively. Does have a stupefy. Could look at an additional draw. But funny enough, I don't think it was a frigid touch. That looks like a retreat to me. So smokescreen, stupefy, retreat, a seal, and a bellows breath might be the remaining cards in hand. So having to rely all the heavy lifting on that smokescreen. Is there another counterplay card in Sebi Q? Or is there the punch first, bringing that might back up to the total where you're not able to conquer it down with a single Vex? But a punch first, believe it or not, is going to cost 2 energy, 3 power. That has never been more of an expensive punch first.
That's a very expensive punch first. It'd be really funny as well if we just had a hard bargain in hand too.
Right. He's floating.
Yeah, going up to 12 now on the side of the Mind Splitter, so not the greatest situation to be in. But we can just retreat the Vex for 0 and get a ruin back as a constellation.
Mm-hmm. Might as well get a little bit done. Of course, Stupefy ends up tying things 1-1 because right now you smoke screen brought it down to 3, and then punch first brought that back up to 8, and now back to 7, starting from square one. Actually, no, that's not Stupefy. That's Bellows Breath. So you're doing 2 damage. So you are 8 down to 6. But if you Bellows Breath repeated, then you bring it into the range of Vex, trading with it, of course. But does he want to do a little bit more than just a trade? I don't think he has the card combinations to do so. So might just elect to take the 1-for-1 and then send in something like the Fizz or Ravenbloom student to follow suit. And ooh, something to be very considerate of is the Ravenbloom for each and every spell he's going to be increasing. So right now, swinging in for 7 total might. Make that 8 total might at the Stupefy comes down. So that's 5 might procs on the Ravenbloom. That can make a difference.
Yeah, it really can. As you can see, they're currently buffing the Ravenblue as much as they can and reducing one of the Mind Splitters on the other side. This could turn it more than I would have thought. And this is actually a great way to get units off the field so they can't use the last rites fully, as they can't get any of the volley bears out this turn, as they were down to, I think, 6 ruins? 2, 4, 6 ruins. So yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to get anything out on the field in the following turn, unless they want to get the MF out, and then they can last rites. Nothing can go to a battlefield, though, as far as I'm aware.
Man, Allen is churning and churning from Stupefy to Stupefy, picking up a Wages of Pain on the Void Gate, doing the remaining 4 damage. That is a simple conquer, up to 6 for the Vex. And now, I believe that is... Oh my goodness, that is the biggest Ravenbloom students we've ever seen. An increase of 8 plus the 2 it naturally has. So, man, should be able to conquer following it with the Mind Splitter alone. If MF Aurora doesn't have any more counterplay, or not counterplay, but combat tricks in hand currently.
I mean, is this a situation where you just walk 1 in? So you either do a Mind Splitter or you do a... I'm trying to think now. So that Mind Splitter there is currently 5, so 5 and 7, so that's 12. Do you just walk everything in, say, sod it? If you got 2 punch first, we basically cancel each other?
Right. I mean, he already invested one. The combat has resolved, so Vex is going to be costing his opponent any additional rune slash energy slash power, of course, as it already concluded that showdown. So now it's going to be starting a new showdown, and he pushes on forward. There's a retreat and seal, so no longer able to pick up any additional cards off the top of the deck. So having to do simple, straightforward math. What are you playing around? Just like you said, Aguito, does he have another punch first? We haven't been able to take a look at the MF Aurora's hand. We saw the Mind Splitter come down. He didn't have double punch first at the time. That punch first he played was actually his second punch first. Is the reward he has the third one? I feel like it's pretty unlikely. I'm not playing around it. You have to push right here. If not, I mean, Alan's thinking so carefully though, so this is tricky, but I think you have to go for the conquer nonetheless.
So it's either a fight or flight, it could be a rebuke, it could be another punch first. What do we have currently on the table? So, but they've got 1 or 2 cards in hand. I think it's a big hand. Moving this out here, this is 8 plus 3 is 11 into 12, I think.
Yeah, I believe, what is that? That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then the 3. So 13 might he's swinging in right now. And it almost looks to me it's a call shot. So if he doesn't have that punch first, and funny enough, he only has 1 orange, so can't even play out the punch first, but looking for perhaps a fight or flight, immediately puts a card that could be a good signal for the MF Aurora player. Digs a little deeper. That is a Gus at the, oh, a fight or flight as well, putting it in the hand. That is a beautiful pickup for the MF player, able to send the Raven Bloom back to where it came from, and now that Fizz won't be able to do anything in the light of 2 Mind Splitters. So down he goes, and this is all but, oh, I don't want to say over for Alan, but he needed that conquer. More importantly, he needed to clear every single unit right now, and leaving behind just a single chosen champion to do every kind of heavy lifting for Sebi.
So don't you just play out don't you just play out the Fizz that you just put back to hand and bring out another spell, and then you just do something else, and then you walk the Ezreal and the Mind Splitter into the other cards?
Very true. I did not see that line. So retreat to get the Fizz, and now what is going to be able to bring back from the grave? I know he does have great spells like Wages of Pain. He had the Stupefies number 2. The Rebukes, of course, Rebukes coming down. It's still going to be a little bit expensive. You do have to pay those 2 Chaos Runes. But now a Mind Splitter evenly, or not evenly, but we'll be able to conquer versus the 5 Might Mind Splitter. Things are getting interesting. It never feels good putting a Mind Splitter back in your opponent's hand, but you don't necessarily have a hand regardless, so you have to do what you have to do. And this is Alan. Wait a second, is this going up to 8? I didn't even realize he was on the door of getting victory right here in this current moment.
That's it. He needs to get this point now, and that way he is the winner. No worrying about MF doing any shenanigans with ganking and accelerating next turn. As far as I can tell, though, I think this will be game as long as they can't find a rebuke or another fight or flight.
He did pick up that bullet time, but he doesn't have nearly enough resources there in the rune pool to get the job done. He has to pay 7 power, and currently only 2 runes available. I cannot believe Alan's plays. He's going crazy here in these grand finals. I did not see, I mean, that turn where he went... What did he even start the turn with? It was rebuke for 1 power, 1 energy, and then it was stupefied to Wages of Pain. Oh my goodness, Ezreal has an incredible ability to just make things out of nothing, it seems like. And now picking up a fight or flight number 2 has exactly 4 energy. Make that 5 energy with the last remaining rune. So can push the Mind Splitter back. Is that the final thing he needed to try to survive? Because there's only a Ezreal in the back, and I cannot believe how close Alan has been getting to victory this turn.
So they go down to 1 ruin. They draw 3. Which means they can last rights, which means they can conquer, and then they have to gank over the Mind Splitter to Vex. So yeah, I think the best play here would be putting the Ezreal with the Vex, so there's 8 into 7.
Yeah, and then you hold up to 8. Perhaps he's seeing the winning line, because right now, what is a MF Aurora player possibly able to get done with a single rune? You're going up to 3 runes the next turn. I think he already used every single fight or flight he had remaining in the deck. So Ezreal, as you mentioned, will be backing up the Vex. And oh my goodness, who would have expected it? Allen moments away from trying to lock this one in for this game number 1. I thought it was all but over. Every single unit from MF was on the current board, and now it's in his hand with only 3 runes available. Those are effectively dead. Has a challenge, has a last right, but all those cards are pretty much worthless in this current situation. Did Allen just win, Alguito?
He did, yeah. Q has decided that it's a good time to sort of say, you know what, instead of just like trying to poke each other in the face for 25 minutes, how about we call this game 1 and we go to game 2. Now we do believe there's a little bit more gear hate in the sideboard, so this might not be as simple as it was for the first game, but who would have seen chain 17 from the Ezreal on turn like 7?
Yeah, honestly, truly breathtaking what we just witnessed on that final closing turn. I guess second to last turn. I don't understand what went down. I mean, I do understand, but it is awesome to see exactly how everything's was sequenced. Did get a little fortunate picking up the Wages of Pain / Stupefy from those draws, but there's just no bad cards in Ezreal. Whether it was a Frigid Touch, whether it was the Wages of Pain that he ended up following, it still would have impacted the current board state nonetheless, but beautiful stuff coming out from Allen. Just one more game away, and one of those games he will be on the play one more time. And with these next 2 games, as you pointed out, these are sideboarded included games. Let's see if they show us a sideboard. I want to see some rocket barrages. Do you remember if we had some from previous games?
We've got a whole 1.
Okay, better than none. Oh, we're seeing it here. So an additional rebuke, never a bad time. I love what I'm seeing. The one of Downwell effectively working a bit like an unchecked power, because if you find yourself in a similar situation that they found themselves late game like Aurora did, you have very little rune economy, and with all those big mighty units in your hand, you can't play them out as efficiently as Ezreal's able to play them out. So that's a big tempo swing if that Downwell comes down. I could only imagine that has to be coming in the main board. Squeeze it out, but he's the one that conceded, so he saw the picture being painted from Allen, and that was a concession. And Allen, as we said, just one more game away. If there's anyone that's truly deserving of the crown, it would be someone that's putting on quite a performance. I mean, MF has been doing great stuff as well, but the decision making from Allen is out of this world, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so what they're saying. Yeah, I thought it was a purple and then 2 units to the bottom of the deck, and that was why they couldn't do the plate with the last rights. Bullet time would have been useful, but again, you just put yourself in a position where the following turn, you lose the Mind Splitter and they just move anything up and take the other battlefield. But yes, hopefully we have a good second game here. You just does see a bit of back and forth. Hopefully right now, they only have the 2 punch first. That actually makes a big difference. But yeah, hopefully we just see some more stuff going on here. A lot of people are saying, look, if you have your gear removal in hand, it's really bad. But again, most of these games you see Ezreal drawing like 5 to 6 cards a turn, so you can generally just draw into that card at some point. Hopefully you don't just draw into it at the end of your opponent's turn when you can't use it.
Right, you don't want to draw it too early neither, because of those sabotages, because those Mind Splitters potentially coming down as early as they can. But now I believe it will be MF Aurora most likely on the play, and every time I see MF Aurora, if they don't see the Dazzling Aura, they're immediately going to be mulligan too, as we're seeing SebiQ do. So shuffling, I honestly don't. They're at the bottom, but I guess when you're talking about Dazzling Aurora / last right potential, I guess you could shuffle your opponent's last 2 cards, and that's a Mind Splitter. And I didn't see the card, but it didn't look like a Dazzling Aurora as we're entering this game number 2 of the grand finals. No DA in hand, and he didn't draw one at that, so it just plays a nice little mobilize. Has 2 turns to draw the Dazzling Aurora before he has enough runes to play it.
That's it. Just got to speed through this game now. Try and get those runes on the field as fast as you can. Quickly now. But already the turn play here, getting the Ezreal out, getting access to those ever so important, very cool chances you can.
Right, you know,
in the following turn.
Foregoing the Raven Bloom, prioritizing the more valuable unit, that being the Ezreal Prodigy, pitches the Arcane Shift, doesn't want to fall victim to the Sabotage, picks up a Fizz and a Watcher, so not too bad. Doesn't feel as ideal being on the second turn, of course, but better than playing out any other unit. So choosing the right opportunity to play out your champion now But champion, your Ezreal Prodigy isn't necessarily a card you want to push the battlefields with, right? Which is the only reason I'm saying that. But I guess in this situation, you have to push these battlefields, or else how else are you getting points, right? So you have to do what you have to do.
That's the issue, really. Your Ezreal is there just to make your combos a little bit cheaper, a little bit more efficient, more effective. The Fizz, we've seen this, I think, from one of the games Alan was in earlier, where he'd, oh no, I just accidentally put my 1/2 of Arcane Shifts into the trash. Oh no, my Fizz fell out. Now my Arcane Shift has come back from the trash. So it's hard. It seems not like it seems awful to try and get rid of early, but when you think of like how the deck wants to run, it's actually pretty good to get rid of a card that's not doing much for the first few turns and is fairly safe in the trash.
Right, that makes a whole lot of sense when you put it that way. So just kind of playing with the extra little card in hand, but instead of in the hand, he has it in the trash instead. But a stacked deck, it looks like he wasn't fortunate enough to hit a Catalyst of Aeon, so digging deeply doesn't hit. It looks like another DA, puts the Volibear and another card at the bottom. And if he doesn't have a Mobilize, he's actually not going to be able to play out a Dazzling Aurora on that turn third. But as I say, there is indeed that Mobilize to get him into that range potential. So now he has to draw it this next turn. Granted, Alan's not really off to any fantastic start, as it's only his second turn in this game too. So he could conquer one, and then he could only establish the back line to hope to conquer up to one more the next turn after a hold.
That's it. This turn just a little bit off center. I don't really know why. I think it's because he went first, and that way it just feels like maybe out of rotation with the extra spells that to use. Nice to try and build up here. Obviously, we're going to go to 9 points this turn, just to try and make it to a game 3, maybe on the side of Sebiq. But as you said before, we are still trying to ramp into that situation. I am pondering if they're going to use the inverted timelines just to try and draw 4 more cards, because the cards in hand aren't necessarily the best and don't need to be kept around too long, as it could be a case of, or a Mind Splitter. Just, it's a very good card. I can see that happening, but now you just deramped yourself 2 cards, so we shall see.
Right, he is at 8 total runes, so wasn't even able to play out Dazzling Aurora. The Mind Splitter does put you down to 6 runes, so you don't even have the potential to play out a Dazzling Aurora, but sometimes you have to pivot from the game plan. You don't always have to rely on Dazzling Aurora, as we saw this player make a good statement earlier on when he didn't have it and still came out on top. And taking a look at the hand, Rasa, I don't think we saw Rasa's, but it was in the main board, right? We just didn't see it come down.
I believe so. Yeah, it must have been at the bottom of the deck. We just never got somehow deep enough. Which one do you take here? I feel like maybe you want to remove the Watcher, but they've gone for the one of the 2 fizzes, so maybe that is the play. I just feel like Watchers are more combo-centric once your units come down, but we'll obviously see what the plan is later on now that we know what's in the hand already.
Yeah, honestly, a whole lot of respect being shown on the Fizz as he eliminates one of those in hand. So 2 in hand, now just 1 in hand. So not able to get back those impressive. I think he got back a Rebuker. What did he end up getting back? Was it the... Just in this game too, where... It was a Rebuke, right?
Yeah, he retreated it to hand, played out the Fizz, got the Rebuke back, got rid of one of the Mind Splitters, and then basically just tried to take the game from there. So, but it got him the game.
It definitely did, closing things out, setting up not literally in that moment with the conquer, but setting up that hold for the victory position. So digging deep with the call shot, doesn't pick up anything too impactful at the current moment, but has the option between a seal just to keep that rune efficiency going forward. So probably going to develop out another seal. And I'm trying to think myself, being in the roar position, is there any kind of gear hate that you can think of? Or are you not necessarily worried about it since you already have a strong gear in yourself?
I think with the side, well, for both of them, obviously we didn't see anything come out in the first game. I don't know if these guys have open deck lists or have been informed by a member of their teams, like, hey, he's running this, be careful of it, or watch out for this, you know, it's a one-of. But like we've seen, Rocket Barrage is obviously a very good card. You can use it. I don't think you can get it again with Fizz, because Fizz is 3 and below, right? So you can use at least once. Obviously, we know they're on 2 of the last right, so again, that's a bit more awkward. But from what we've seen already, if you don't have any bodies on the field, you can't equip that wonderful shovel to anyone. So I don't think anything gear-wise is an interest to either of these two here in terms of hatred. It's just who can churn faster, and it does seem to be the Alan's Ezreal deck sort of just churning 20 cards deep already.
Right, and you know, it is actually funny enough a open deck list. As we saw all top 8, these guys were reading their opponent's deck list, so they know exactly what to predict. And one of the cards these guys have to be playing around, more importantly, what MF Aurora should be playing around, is the card that just got picked up right now for Alan. It is the Downwell. So if he finds himself in a situation, actually, as I think it through, those Mind Spaders make it so hard to play any good card, especially being just one of in your deck. Even if he hits a DA the next turn, he's going to be able to take out the Downwell. And oh man, I completely forgot about the inverted timeline. I kind of respect what you were saying in the sense, if you don't have the Dazzling Aurora now, you haven't been too fortunate to see those Dazzling Auroras off the stack decks, off the call shop before. Would you be better off just strictly drawing 4 cards with those inverted timelines? Is it 4 or 3? I might have to read the card again.
4.
Okay.
So I think it's a pretty good card to use. I believe it's both players, so that way you empty the hand of the Ezreal. Going for it. You empty your hand, you empty your opponent's hand, you draw 4 cards. As I've already said, he just needs to get to his game plan. Having the early Mind Splitter has helped a little bit, though, just because getting that extra point early just slows down the game so much for Alan. Remember last game, we got to 6 points before they started scoring their points, and because that was the case, they just could not push it through. But 2-1 is a lot better place to be in for CBQ.
It really is, especially as you mentioned before, he already has a unit on the base or on the battlefield, but picks up some decently good cards. And it is 4 cards, 4 new cards at that. Will 25% chance of those cards be a Dazzling Aurora? It looks like no, it will not be. A hard bargain. And a couple other good cards he kind of flipped through there. And paying 4. So most likely will be the Catalyst of Aeons getting more runes. I believe now he's in Dazzling territory. That's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So next turn he should have, of course, 10 runes, which will be Dazzling Aurora energy. That's if he draws it, of course. A whole lot tougher sometimes. He's looking to the top 3, and he's not having a good time. In their quarterfinals, he was hitting him left and right, but in these grand finals, it seems like he's having a decently hard time looking at these finding these Dazzles and Auroras, I should say.
It just seems to be where he's gone another 3 deep with that stack of the deck. He's just doing what he can. I think he's about the same position that Alan's in, about 20 cards deep now, maybe 15. Kind of need to see it on the next turn. Again, in a good position here. We presume the face down card with the Monster is a fight or flight, so it's pretty safe right now. What we do need to see, though, is a little bit more sort of assertion from CBQ. Maybe we'll get another Monster in hand, play that out instead. Keep yourself on that kind of curve where when any turn comes up, you do just get to play out the Auroras and going forwards. Worst case scenario, maybe we can always play out the MF and just keep that there as a backup plan, as we have seen before. But they're both in a really good position here. I just think that Alan might have taken his foot too far off the pedal now. I might just have to start throwing a cheaper unit into the free area. Obviously, ganking can be an issue, though, if the Mind Split just decides to stroll upon. And we see a second inverted timelines that I didn't see earlier. So maybe that's what next game plan is. Go again.
Go one more time, churn the wheel. I think that's a sideboard inclusion, because if I remember, there was only 1 in the main board, but Alan would not love to see that. He already has some decently good cards. That double rebuke in hand. I believe there was something else I was impressed with. What was the card? We'll be able to see when they look back at the hand, of course. But inverted timeline number 2 could be pretty advantageous. You don't have the Dazzling Aurora, so you might as well go for it, but you're letting go of a couple good cards as well. So instead, foregoing it for the time being, maybe wants to let Ezreal establish a bit more draw power and then go ahead and devastate it with that inverted timeline number 2. He was looking like he wanted to go ahead and develop out the champion, and that he does commit to. He doesn't go for the acceleration, so leaving that Sigil of the Storm to be for now, as he doesn't want to de-ramp himself too much. And yeah, nice little play for the time being. But I like what you were saying, Agito. I think he needs to go ahead and probably just conquer Sigil of the Storm. Even though if you're going to go down to the likes of a MF Aurora, to the likes of a ganking Mind Splitter, you have to start putting some points on the board. But perhaps patience is the name of the game. He was able to close out game number 1. So he could be thinking 1 to 2 to 3 turns ahead, honestly.
Yeah, so we see the Rocket Barrage there in hand, so maybe they just think, I will use it to maybe blow up the MF in the back there just to try and take things off. Maybe send 4 damage into that. Sorry, 8 damage into the Mind Splitter, ruining the fight or flight. Overall, though, we do have options in the hand of both players here. I do see some rebukes there. I'd rather him keep them until we get the bears coming down. We know one bear is in hand currently, but the second one is somewhere in the deck, and obviously he's a pretty big bear.
Oh yeah, the biggest bear there is in Riftbound. And you know, to your point, there are some great cards in hand. There's a Factory Recall, there's a Rocket Barrage, as we pointed out, the best way of dealing with the Dazzling Aurora. The best and maybe the only true way of dealing with it. But of course, if a Dazzling Aurora comes down, one of those cards will be hitting the bin. So has to be considered that going forward. Floats the energy, looks like a retreat onto the Fizz, bringing back one of the spells from the trash. Probably looking at Arcane Shift, perhaps.
So unless they really need to dig and they just want to use a stack the deck, or they want to use a cold shot, I think Arcane Shift is the game plan here, just to do more shenanigans.
Yeah, because if they're stacked deck, you get Arcane Shift. Oh no, what are you bringing back? I guess you get your Ezreal, draw 2 more cards off the top. Never a bad play. You do 3 damage on the Mind Splitter, letting the Vex trade 1 for 1. Without considering the simple fact of a fighter flight, of course. So Fizz coming onto the board, using the seal to play the power and paying the power from call shot. So looking deeper into the deck, but is that falling into the trap of the inverted timeline? Because Ezreal's like, oh, I saw one inverted timeline. What's the likelihood that he has a second one? Let's go ahead and turn up the increase the card potential of the current hand. And he finds the Morbid Return, putting it in the hand currently. So honestly, an inverted timeline would be all but disastrous for Allen. He has such great cards: 2 Rebukes, a Morbid, a Rocket Barrage, a Factory Recall. If there is a heads up play in the inverted timeline, I think Allen is going to be a bit out of answers going into the remaining of this game.
I think so too. We're in a good position though right here now, as we are, I think, 9 into 7. Obviously, there's going to be a fight or flight here. Going to bring who back? Fizz back. Okay. We're going to do something fun again. Maybe the Arcane Shift this time, so you can just ping 3 damage. Hard bargain. Time.
Morbid Return brings back the Fizz, as you pointed out, slightly ahead, but it should be all good. Brings back, let's go ahead and see. I think, to your point, oh, the hard bargain on the return?
I think it's hard bargaining the more reminder. For 2? And he said, yeah, that's fine, I'll pay the 2.
Thinking about the 4, but no, it does indeed just pay out the 2. Or is there something else going on? Because he recycled for the hard bargain. Why did he recycle? What am I missing there?
So you're playing the Morbid Reminder to bring back the Fizz.
Vex. Of course, Vex. So that's what I'm missing there. So yeah, Vex caused hard bargain 3 energy, 1 power to play it during that showdown. So it was a quite expensive hard bargain. Allen does pay the cost.
And the rebuke. I'm not massively happy about this, because you kind of know they're going to rebuke you if there's nothing else to do next turn, which you basically either rebuke. You either you either Mind Splitter or you inverted timelines. But you are now at 4 points, so you're in a better position.
And man, what a great play. You feel so good when you can play out a rebuke for a single energy and a single power, allowing that Vex to conquer up to 4. You have the Prodigy to conquer up to 5 if you so dare so. Kind of overextend. I mean, at one point, he's been playing patient this whole game, so I have to respect what his game plan is going forward. And MF Aurora is currently at just 2 points. No DA to be found. No Mind Spirits to be found. I guess there is the 1 in hand, though. But he's not too worried, as he doesn't have to worry about one of those hitting the battlefield, of course, unless MF on the current base pushes forward, as we're seeing right here. So taps and floats the energy, re-readies the energy. So has what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 total runes to work with this turn.
Yeah, it's pretty good. As we saw in the hand, the Aurora is going to come down now. We have 2 Mind Splitters and 1 bear in the back. None can be accelerated, though, so they are kind of stuck in that situation. Oh, off the top, everyone, we find ourselves a Mind Splitter.
Yeah, it doesn't have to dig too deep. So looking at the Rocket Barrage very intensely, saying, wait a second, my DA, I would like to have it to stick around for a few more turns, where there's one card that really gets rid of it outright. Granted, actually, Factory Recall puts it back in the hand, and he should have enough runes to still play it, shouldn't he? He's 2, 4, 6 total runes. You go up to 8. Wait, what am I missing? DA cost 2. He had 10, but one was from the MF floating, so had 9 down to 7. Okay, I think there's one card hidden there. Yeah, he should still have enough for a DA next turn.
So yeah, you got rid of the rockets. I'm okay if they want to just factory recall just for the sake of doing it. It would give you an extra point on the Raven Bloom. Not that you need it. Oh.
I think it's cheap enough, right? Whenever we talk about a single energy play, might as well do it while you can. There is no kind of hard bargain being countered out because of the single energy. Mind Spitter coming down after the factory recall. We're loving these plays, but now he has a couple options. The more straightforward play is snatch that Dazzling Aurora out of here, but you could be a bit considerate of the inverted timeline as well, because I believe he had a decent and good card. Or did he let go of all those cards in that previous turn? Because we did see some rebukes come down. I think we even saw a couple more cards, so I think it has to be Dazzling, doesn't it?
I think Dazzling is the easiest one to get rid of here because you just never really get in those big bears out. You will see a Mind Splitter come down here and rip a card out your hand in a second, but I think we've got one more Rebuke in hand, and then I think we'll maybe have a Smoke Screen. So it's not the craziest hand currently, but it's definitely a hand that's going to be annoying to get rid of, just because the Rebuke is such a powerful card. But I can obviously see either the Mind Splitter coming down or the inverted timelines just to try and get to the... Who cares about the second one? Because apparently we're going to draw it off the top.
You see, let's see. It looks like you're slightly ahead. You're saying Sebi drew maybe another Dazzling off the top. Let's go ahead and see. Oh, channels the 2 has enough rooms, and you're absolutely right. A fortune teller, Aguito. Draws the Dazzling Aurora. But man, Alan has been piloting and navigating this turn so well, or this game number 2 so well. I was just about to say perhaps Sebi kicking himself a little bit in hindsight because he had the inverted timeline with the rebukes hitting the trash, with the rocket barrage in the trash, with the factory recall getting taken away. He would have had a whole lot easier time dealing with Alan's board. But now, as you mentioned, the following Dazzling Aurora coming down, that looks to be at the minimum another Mind Splitter should be hitting the board as early as this following end of turn, because I think there's one volley in hand, so the likelihood favors of Mind Splitter, but who knows? Let's see what he hits off the Dazzling.
No bear, 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 no bear.
Is he out of units? No, it's probably at the last card. There's the bear. Sets up the big old battlefield defenses. I think we said it before. That's 20 total might defending at the Aspirant Climb on top of the Fight or Flight, making it quite an issue for Alan to take care of, especially when I think he's completely out of things like Rebuke currently. Has some great spells, has the Singularity, but is that truly enough? Singularity into Frigid Touch repeated. Funny enough, might take care of the bear, but what do I know? There is indeed a Rebuke in hand. Rebuke comes down, putting the bear back in, and that means the Mind Spirit can trade 1 for 1, and he's completely tapped out, allowing Aladdin to conquer up to 7 points this turn if he chooses to do so, which means he's 1 turn away from getting from 7 to 8 to 9 points with a double hold or a double conquer. Is he sending both in? I wouldn't mind going one at a time, but perhaps it ends up being the same result. Ravenbloom ends up staying, or the bigger might unit ends up staying. Hopefully, he doesn't even want to trade either, as Fizz comes down, trying to repeat the Rebuke, sending it back to hand. I could only imagine that has to be the line of play, but perhaps he's thinking something else.
Let's go for the bring back another Fizz. Why did he get rid of the Fight or Flight? That was hidden.
I think the card is still hidden. It's just on the side of Alan, funny enough.
No, he's put in the trash. When the volley bear went to hand, he put the hidden Fight or Flight to trash. Now confused.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. Perhaps it was a reaction. Oh, hard bargain. That's what it is. That he did flash the hard bargain. I thought it was some kind of discard going on, but yeah, he played it so fast. We both of us missed it. But I do recall there was a hard bargain. The side of my brain was like, wait a second, what did he hard bargain? But now I completely see the picture. Call shot coming down, and things are looking rather up for Alan ZQ. It looks like he might be locking in the Bologna championship crown. Of course, I don't want to speak too soon, but things are looking really good for him so far because of this double conquer turn this turn.
So I believe there's one Mind Splitter in the deck still, and that's the last unit in the deck. We saw that the last rights have been put basically to the bottom of the deck-ish. The chances of anything happening now is going to be very hard to get anything sort of going into the game. But right now, I think we start double conquering.
I think you have to go for, I think, trade 1 for 1 unless you have any kind of other combat tricks, but sending in 2, offering him the chance to take down the Raven Balloon or the Mind Splitter. But ZBQ understanding, might as well take the bigger unit. 7-7. That is a conquer on Aspen Climb. That is a conquer on Sigil of the Storm. One more turn, double hold, double conquer, and Alan will be reigning king of Bologna. Can he get the job done? He passes it on forward. How much runes does MF even have to work with? That's 2, 4, 6, 8 total runes. Can play a DA if he have it. Has the potential to pay a Mind Splitter, but that Mind Splitter doesn't come down at accelerated speed, leaving behind a double hold. The time bullet, or the bullet time, comes down. Yes, you take care of 1 unit, but there's 2 more fizzes in the back line. I don't see it any other way. Do you see it, Aguito? I think Alan might be crowned king today.
I think Alan is walking away as the owner of Sanctity and enjoying the fact that he's got a one-of card, I don't know if it's a metal card, and that beautiful playmat that people can complain about. But I think Alan has this in the bag now. As you said, there's nothing that can accelerate currently in the game. You don't have enough runes to really get any more forwards. And I do think this is now Alan's game to just walk into and win.
Yeah, just the simple fact of a double fizz in the back line. Even if you draw into a fight or flight, neglect the hold, that is a double conquer. You can no longer play any units for 4. There's literally no units in the whole deck that can play, and Sevi moments away from dropping the hand. He wants to make him sweat slightly, but that's a hold to 8 and a conquer to 9. We have ourselves the first Western Spiritforged champion, Alan ZQ, guys. Round of applause. That was incredible sight to see. Well done, well done.
Indeed. It's nice to see 2 guys at the end of the game hugging it out, handshakes. Everyone's happy it's over. It's 10:30 over there currently in Italy. I'm sure they're all exhausted. It's been a long weekend. And look at them both. Best of winners, number 1 and number 2.